is NIL out of control? My initial reaction is this. Are we including transfer portal in that too? NIL and transfer portal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My first reaction was players deserve to get paid. Caleb, I don't want to go down that road because players deserve to get paid. But the more I thought about it, it was probably about 5:45 a.m., 2 hours after our 3:45 a.m. production meeting. I thought Caleb may be onto something. There's no salary cap. There's nothing to prevent a player from bolting because he stubbed his toe in practice. I would suggest 2 changes, but I think they're both illegal. Okay, so these are my changes, Caleb, and I know that they can't happen. Change number 1, there is a cap on NIL spending. Now, I do believe that'll happen because there's going to be a union, but you have to have a union first because it would be illegal to put a cap on potential earnings, right?
Correct.
Okay. My other is this. If you transfer after 1 season, you are held out, suspended for 4 games the following year. If you transfer under any other circumstance, you are suspended for 2 games the following year. Caleb, I know that's illegal. Okay. But philosophically, I don't want to take away a year like they used to. And I'll tell you what, the most dastardly rule ever, Caleb, was if you didn't release a player. Do you remember that rule? And they had to pay for their school for a year?
That was absolutely insane.
I mean, that's a financial penalty for an amateur athlete. I mean, how hypocritical can you be? But what do you think about that idea of suspending? I hate the word suspension. Holding out a player for 4 games if he just up and bolts after a year because he needs to be given some incentive. And I'm thinking of this for the kids more than the stability of college football. There are times in life, guys, I'm in the middle of it. You got to tough things out. And these guys have to tough things out at times. Caleb, and this flip it, just jumping and leaving, Squirrel White might be Tennessee's leading receiver next year. But what if Florida State, which is just a bleep show?
What if, rather than doing something like that, what if we just went back to the old ways of saying, like, okay, you can transfer 1 time, no consequences, and the second time you got to sit out a year. But if you've graduated, like if you officially have your bachelor's degree in hand and you finished all your course credits, you can transfer wherever you want, no penalties whatsoever, because that's how it typically works, your graduate transfer. So you can transfer 1 time as an undergrad with no penalties whatsoever.
Here's what I want to penalize. I want to penalize a guy that goes to a school and he's just not comfortable. He's not happy after a year. Nobody's happy and comfortable after a year. Do you know what my first 2 semesters at Tennessee, I thought I can't make any money in this broadcasting thing, which I really want to do. So I'm going to take a business degree. Well, it was awful. I got a 0.92 GPA my first semester. I got a 1.14 my second semester. I hated it. It was awful. But you know what I did? I toughed it out. I went to community college, went back to Tennessee, decided that it was broadcasting that I was going to do no matter how much money I made. And I took that hit.
But see, Dylan brings up a great point, though. Like, what if the head coach leaves and after you were there for a year?
Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with changing that one aspect. If a coach leaves, then you can leave. I'm totally.
See, I posed this question to Dave because Dave, you were off when I told him about the Cam Ward situation in Miami, where Cam Ward, for those who don't remember, opted out of the bowl game at halftime. And that's where this whole is NIL transfer portal out of control. But I posed the question to make my point that I think this is people are running around with their hair on fire as if something's wrong when nothing's wrong. And
something's wrong. Now, I mean, Caleb, you have no limit on money spending. You have no limit on amount of transfers. You can't.
It's time for some data.
Give me some data.
Which team, just guess, which team lost the most players to the transfer portal this offseason?
Oof. You would think it would be Florida State with the way they, bleeped up the season, but is it not?
And it's understandable why this team lost so many players. Washington State. They're one of the schools that lost their head coach. Okay, you lose your head coach, you're going to lose a lot of players. Guess how many they lost?
I'm going to say 8.
No. I mean, teams are losing way more than 8 to the transfer portal in an all-season.
Okay, well, give me the number.
36.
36.
But wait, hold on. How many scholarship players are on a team on average in college football?
85. I mean, that's the
100.
limit.
No, it's 105 now. It's 105.
Okay, I wasn't aware that they changed that. Are you sure that that's gone into effect?
No, I'm sorry. You're right. It's 85 on a team. 105 are allowed to be offered at any time. I apologize. You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
So you got 85 scholarship players, and but really, you practically have 105 because the walk-ons aren't walk-ons anymore.
Yes. So you practically have 105 players on a football team in 36 league. That means that the team that led the nation in players lost only lost a third of their players. So two-thirds of their team is back in this era of NIL and the transfer portal. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think player movement is a big deal. Dave, people are like, oh, it's like the NFL with no loyalty. No, you lose half your team in the NFL every year to year. Okay. You're not getting that. Tennessee, and I bring this back to Tennessee for a minute. You keep bringing up Squirrel White. Outside of Squirrel White, who did Tennessee lose that fans had even come close to falling in love with?
Okay, but you can't do that, Caleb. I mean, what you're doing is you're taking away my strongest argument. My strongest argument is that there's no reason Squirrel White should have left. I mean, unless his shoulder injury was mishandled, which, I mean, that's something you can't do. He's the perfect example. So you can't take away.
So you lose one player that the fans were in love with, but you didn't lose, you didn't lose Nico. You didn't lose Mike Matthews, who came back. You didn't lose Boo Carter. You didn't lose, so many other people to the border. You lose one. So what? I mean, that's where I'm at. You're going to lose some guys. I think that's still a net win-win. If Squirrel White wants to take that risk, by the way, you say penalized after a year, that still wouldn't apply to Squirrel White. He's been in Tennessee's system for 3 years. Okay, so it's a win-win for everybody. You're allowed to make your decision. Here's what I would say, and here's where I would fix it. And this is kind of something that would be controversial because of the freedom that's granted players. But I think coaches should have to hold the scholarship for players unless they willingly enter the portal. I think a player should have to enter the portal for a coach to not be allowed to hold the scholarship for them.
Wait. You lost me on that one. You think they should have to hold the scholarship for them?
I think the coach should not be able to pull the scholarship from a player. I think a player should have to enter the portal before the coach. And then if the player enters the portal, the coach can do what he wants.
Okay, but Caleb, that sounds good, but that's not how it works. I mean, the way it works is, hey, Bobby, I don't think you're going to play a lot here. We love having you around. You're great on the grill, is what I hear from the fellas, and you're the nicest guy on the team. But you're not going to play. Might not be a bad idea if you transfer.
Okay, how about
what you're suggesting? You really can't legislate.
I think a player should be allowed to weigh keeping the education they have, because here's what happens: if you enter the transfer portal, there's a risk you don't get picked up, and then you never get a scholarship again. Right?
Good. You make that kind of decision, you're an adult.
No, I'm with you. Dave, I'm with you. What I'm saying is if you choose not to, though, they shouldn't be allowed to pull your scholarship. Say Bobby over here decides, I know I could go somewhere else to play, but what if I don't get picked up? I'd rather stay here and just keep my scholarship and go get a degree. Josh Heupel then shouldn't be allowed to say, well, I'm pulling your scholarship anyway. That's what I'm saying. Now, maybe here's the compromise. How about this? How about Josh Heupel say that? How about we set this up? The school has to honor the scholarship, but Josh Heupel can cut him from the team and it won't count against his scholarship limits.
Well, they do that anyway. They do that with the
school honors the scholarship if you don't enter the portal.
Well, I mean, are you talking about a guy who just can't play college football, but you don't want to throw in the trash heap? Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's done. It's called a medical red shirt. So, like, if you went to a guy and you just said you can't play, and he said, "Well, that's fine because I never really liked football, but my dad made me play." Yeah,
Josh Heupel can then say, "Well, let's just say you tweaked your knee and you can never
he
play
just
again."
He kicks him in the leg and say, "You get a medical record." That's the way that works out. That's why a lot of people don't know this, but Josh Heupel has a baseball bat actually behind his desk at all times. So that's his medical red shirt bat.
His medical red shirt bat. Just whack him in the leg.
Yeah, you're out of here, Bobby. All right. I mean, I don't think you can legislate what you're saying. But I'm not ripping you because I don't think you can. I think what I suggested was illegal. So we're both basically suggesting law breaking on this program. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Coming up on the program, we'll have the stat of the day. I've decided where I'm going to give away a book every day. So you just figure out how to do it during the break. We went over to our 3:45 a.m. production meeting, but I think Caleb was out partying because it was a snow day, and he really didn't bring anything to the table at our meeting this morning as far as the way.
What?
Yeah,
What?
What? Is that not accurate?
Oh, my Lord.